What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Earthens Den. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about not making excuses for yourself. I think as women in general, we're constantly overlooked. A lot of times we are undervalued, and often we feel as though we've been taken advantage of, whether or not this is true, right? Because we understand the victim mentality. And I think for me, it wasn't really a matter of victim mentality. I think a lot of times what I really was intentional about doing was creating a space for women who did not necessarily have anyone to stand in position for them, right? Or have anyone to encourage them. I think it can be really hard at times if you are someone and, life is just pretty much put you down. I was going to say kicked your ass, but, when life has just put you down, like it's really hard to kind of, find your footing in that space. And so I think for myself, I always wanted to let her know that she was seen, right? And I think for me, because my dad was such a motivator in my life and he never coddled me, right? Which is a good and a bad thing, right? But I was never coddled in that way. So it made me a lot stronger, but I speak to those women who didn't have that and who don't currently have that, right? I never make excuses for myself. A lot of people say you can't start this because of this. You can't do this because of this. When I say I have never in my single life made an excuse for myself. And so when it came to my journey, to the things that I was after, to my success, I really learned to settle into whatever was in front of me. You know what I mean? And it just got to a point in my life now where I've learned to rest and sit back and really learn, like, what is the lesson here? Right. And since last year, I really started to assess things from a more personal standpoint. Okay, how can I change? How can I get better? How can I move so that this does not happen to me again? Right. I talked to you guys in this YouTube video, and I remember and I was saying, like, you don't necessarily, I don't think that you teach people how to treat you. Right. I think that people show up in your life and you can decide whether or not you want to deal with that. I personally stand on that because I'm not really in the business of telling people how to treat you. I think that when I show up in somebody's life, nobody is ever pulling me to the side telling me, hey, don't speak to me like that. Hey, lower your voice like that. I think if you don't have proper etiquette and proper value and respect for someone, then that's just kind of a clear indicator right there. I think as women, we're taught to be really, really tolerant. And honestly, because I am just for women and I really stand for women. And if you are a guy who's listening to this podcast, that's pretty much where I'm taking it. And I'm really, really thankful because I was just telling you guys in the previous episode, I was questioning where I wanted to take Earthens Den and what I seen for the trajectory of my podcast. And I really wanted to know, like, how do we move forward? And so I'm very thankful for that vision. But seriously, you know what I mean? Seriously. And so, I had to sit in a space and I had to realize what has this year taught me? You know what I mean? And honestly, I've really learned some profound lessons and it's crazy, and honestly, I'm at a space in my life where I'll share more later, because I think sometimes when you're in the pit of it, even though you got the lesson and you're moving forward, I just think that a story kind of looks better told when it's you kind of looking back on it. Right. And I think for me, I show up every day because one, I want to get better at what it is that I do. And secondly, like I said, I want to show up for the girl who doesn't have that fighter in her. Right. Or she hasn't awakened to it yet. Right. Like it just hasn't been pulled out of her, because I think as a woman in today's society, whether or not, like I said, I talked to you guys about this whole trajectory of like, traditionalism and liberation. And I know a lot of women are working on themselves for relationships. But one of the things I can tell you for sure, like I know people are telling you, oh, you should be like this, or oh, you should be like that, or oh, X, Y, and Z, they're kind of fiddling with your heart's desires. Like, I'm gonna just tell you straight up, as a woman, if you don't get some heart, girl, it's not going to be good for you because nobody cares. I think that is sad, right? Like as women, we are in those positions, but I just don't think that that's the reality for most people. And I'm not saying that you can't manifest someone who's going to protect you, or you can't manifest situations that, whatever. I'm just saying at the end of the day, as an individual and as life kind of just moves forward, you're just going to have to toughen up, because I just don't think that the world in which we live in today, I mean, it was predominantly built on, right, male institutions. And you know what I mean? Like, that's just not the way of the world, So I just think that as a woman, you got to toughen up and you got to stop making excuses for yourself. I've never made an excuse for myself, and I've never seen a closed door. Like anything I've ever wanted to do in my life, it got done. Like it really got done. And anything I didn't do was because I didn't really want to do it. And if I didn't really want to do it, it was because I let fear. And I can honestly say the only thing that I ever let fear stop me was, but it's funny, you guys, honestly, like when I think about the reason why I didn't move, and I think about like, if I say, oh, fear stopped me, I can't really say that it was fear. I think it was like I really didn't have a clear, concrete plan. You know what I mean? As to what I was going to do. And it was interesting because this is just what I love about being a woman. Like when I say women are so freaking strong, like first and foremost, I talk about like finding your strength within yourself and all of those things. But let me just tell you this straight up, as a woman, don't let anybody tell you that you're weak. First of all, the ability to be empathetic in a world that is pretty much like, I'm not going to say it's against you, but it's not necessarily always in your favor, right? And also having the ability to rationalize and think logically, there's some great strength in that. You know what I mean? And man, women are just, there's nothing like that level of strength. I've never seen that in a man. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that men are not strong. I'm just saying that the level of resiliency, right? I mean, let's just even talk about childbirth. The level of pain in which women can endure, I mean, come on. There's just nothing that's in comparison to that. So don't let anybody tell you that you're weak. You know what I mean? Because you may have had a weak moment, right? And I can't even say it's a weak moment, right? At the end of the day, we're women. We're emotional, right? That's why I love this platform, because at the end of the day, we get to be women. And I look forward to creating more spaces for us, because that's just what it is. Like women, we're emotional. It is what it is. But that don't mean we can't get the job done. Right? There's really some power, I believe, in being empathetic, yet being able to rationalize. Using both sides of your brain, that's like wildly dangerous. I mean, like, come on now. That requires a different level of skill, And even just being able to go through the world that does typically have these narratives against us, right? And these systems that are in place and all of this bull crap that's kind of just like uprising, right? And still come out on the other side and actually be someone who's empathetic. I think that takes a lot of freaking heart. You know what I mean? Come on, let's talk about it. There are some people, there are some guys I know, they go through one heartbreak, honey, and they be in their 40s and they still holding on to it. And I'm not saying women don't do that too, but I'm just saying the chances are very slim. Women, hey, you go through one relationship, honey, and that don't work out. You go through some stuff. And that last one, you still have hope for love. So I'm just saying there's a different level of strength. And this is not to put, men and women against each other. I'm just saying we got to recognize the strength that women possess. Like I've never seen anything like it. And I think when we sit in that space and we embody that, that's where our empowerment is going to come from. And that's where we can really sit and rise to the occasion, because I want to see more women in business. I want to see more women in position, because I think we need that for us. You know what I mean? We really do. And we need different personalities, and we need women to speak to different type of women, right? I know social media kind of only talks about two types of women, right? And there's like the ones who wear makeup and the one, the nature girls or whatever, all this other silly pseudo type things that puts us against one another, so to speak. But there are just so many different type of women. And so I think rising up and just being empowered in the spaces that we are in and actually dominating those spaces, I mean, we should not be apologizing for that. I think that more women need to do that, because those voices are needed and we are needed, right? And so don't make excuses for yourself. Literally, I've never made an excuse for myself. When I wanted to start this podcast last year, honey, I remember telling my friend, I was like, yo, I'm about to start a podcast. And he was like, okay, what's your podcast going to be? I'm like, yeah, it's going to be about X, Y, and Z. And that's how I'm moving forward. I didn't sit here and say, oh my God, I need to buy a microphone. I need to do this. I need to do that. I never did any of that. And I've never done any of that. Anything I've ever wanted to do, I just, I roll with it. Now, obviously, coming into like business and doing the other things like that, certain aspects in your life, you're going to definitely have to do a little bit more planning, right? Like you may not want to just be on a whim and a prayer. But even still, I think that even that journey in itself, it may be a little bit longer, right? Because now we're in a space of digital technology. There's courses. There's so many things now. You don't really necessarily have to take such a long way. But even still in that, there's so much power in that. You know what I mean? And I can honestly say, I was very thankful for my journey and where I was at, because I was consistent. You know what I mean? And I knew how much it really took to be successful. You have a lot of people who will definitely be in a position where it's kind of like, you just kind of feel like they're I don't even want to, you have some people who just don't move with the right intentions. And I think that when it comes to success, I don't really care what anybody says. Like anything built on a faulty foundation, it's not going to withstand. Number one. And number two, when it comes to success, it's not easy. Like, you're not finna just come in here, cut lines, and that's just not how it works. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. You know what I mean? And so, and even still, if you're moving in that space, I can't even really say. I was just checking out something, and it talked about having a clear conscience. And I definitely think that's something that we take for granted. I remember I was listening to, I don't even think if it was something I was listening to. I think it was something I was reading. And I want to kind of touch on this too, because I made a podcast and I said why nice girls don't finish last. Honestly, just being a good person, like, you're never going to finish last. You know what I mean? Like, your karma, your energy, you're sowing, like, it's going to come back around full circle. Now, you are going to have to get you a backbone, because you just don't want to have to keep dealing with people treating you like crap and tearing on your self-esteem. Like, as women, words, those things, that matters. You know what I mean? It definitely matters. Like, it's not something that you want to take lightly from people. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be mindful of who's speaking to you and who's speaking in your life. My bad, y'all. I had to take a water break. But listen, we're back. So I was talking about nice girls, and this is a real tea. Like, for real, like, when it comes to being nice, honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, don't change who you are. I feel like people talk about, like, oh, you have to change you. I mean, I think to an extent, yes. Like, I'm not still this 6th grade old Jalen who just was like, you know, letting people walk all over me. No. But at the end of the day, I think there was a time and a place for stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like, I think in regards to my business and how I move about in the world, I've never really been a pushover in regards to that. And I think it's important to really just kind of assess how you see yourself. Like, for example, as I was stating previously, like, being a nice girl, you don't really have anything to worry about, because it's all going to come full circle. And I think, honestly, like, if after you just, you know, some things go on in your life and you're just not okay with it, you'll get your fight back. Right. But I kind of want to speak to women, too, because I think sometimes, like, when it comes to the nice girl, you lose your way. Like, you lose your way. Like, I definitely think for myself, I didn't start out that way. Like, honestly, I was somebody who was really like, yeah. You know what I mean? And honestly, it really wasn't, I think it was like, I don't know. I don't want to say it was anger. I don't really know. I can't really do any self-assessment on my old self when I was, like, young, and I was, like, in my early, like, I ain't gonna say early 20s, because I'm still in my early 20s, but I'm, like, halfway through. But I was like in my teens, like 18, 19, 20, 21 type, you know what I mean? I can't necessarily do any heavy assessment, but what I will say is I've always been somebody who was very confident and sure of herself, right? And so I found that I didn't know at the time, but the people I was rolling with and some of the relationships I was in, like, I didn't know that was something that many people did not possess. And so what I found is there was so many people that was working overtime to tear down me, right? Tear me down and to really move me off my throne. And they was really, like, fighting for my spot. And this is crazy, because it's different when you're in a relationship with a person like this. You know what I mean? And I didn't recognize that. And so I really found myself changing. And I remember just being in such a vulnerable place, because it's like, you know, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, first and foremost, and I'm saying relationships, like, I need y'all to take this very lightly, because that's not even how I'm really rocking and rolling. I think it just means so much for me to be, like, even just committed to somebody, right? And that's not to say I'm with the whole poly, like, monopoly, whatever. Like, that's not my flow. No offense if that's your flow, but that's not my flow. But it's just like, that was never how I was rocking and rolling. So it was like, if I was really rocking with somebody, definitely, obviously coming from, like, that little girl, like, oh, is this the one? Like, you know, you're just batting your eyes. Like, you know, you're young. Like, and honestly, if you've been in that space, or if you're in that space, don't beat yourself up. Like, girl, we were groomed to be that way. Trust me. You have to just kind of come out of the matrix. Once you come out that matrix, honey, it just looks a little different from this side. But, yeah, that was the space in which I was in. And so I didn't know that you could actually have, like, partners, you know, and it's definitely crazy. Like, it breeds a completely different thing in a man. I've never dated a woman, so I should also make that clear. Even if you do go that way, no offense, I'm not saying anything, you know, I have nothing to say in regards to that. I'm just saying it's my experience. So anyway, touching on that, I'm wrapping up on that. If you are somebody and, you know, you're a good girl, you're a quote unquote recovering nice girl, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I just feel like, honestly, if I'm being honest, y'all, like, I'm always honest, but, like, I just feel like when it comes to women, we can just, like, stop this whole, like, trying to change one another. I think that's my biggest thing. Like, I hate to see women trying to change for men. I really do. Like, I'm not saying that you can't grow and develop yourself and work on yourself and be in a better relationship, you know what I mean, to have a healthy relationship if that's what you desire. But I just can't stand that. I really can't. And the reason being is because I just feel like you should do it for you, like change for you. And a lot of times, when it comes to women and you trying to change yourself for somebody else, it will never work anyway. I'm just being honest. Like, it will never work anyway, because at the end of the day, you got to be you. And if somebody don't like you for you, then that's not the person for you. And I know social media make it seem like the world is so small because everybody is just like literally a type, a button, a click away. But the world is not like that. Like, that's not the real world. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you have to open your eyes and understand, like, okay, there are billions of people on this planet. Do you really think if you line up at least half of that, you're going to get along with any one of them in that line? No. The answer is no. So it's just like, I think if you're going to change for you. But the thing is, what I see with so many women, when you try to change for like a man or change for other people or like, you know what I mean? Like this is a touchy topic that I'm actually ending with. But if you try to change for a man, you have to realize, like, what are you changing? Because a lot of times we go through things in life as women. And like I said, just from my own experience of people trying to break me down, like, y'all got to read my book Seasons. It was so bomb. Like, honestly, I talk about my journey on the way back to me because I've been through it. You know what I mean? Like, when you try to change, you lose yourself. And a lot of times you're going to find the stuff you was changing about you made you. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. And it's like, at the end of the day, they wasn't rocking with you because they wasn't rocking with you. Like, that's just period. It didn't have anything to do with you. And you're going to find out, like, for real, a lot of times, like, people just can't handle, like when you a good person, when you got a good heart, like, sometimes them demons they can't rock with it. They can't take you down. They can't seem to shake you. Okay. They coming at your ankles. You're not moving because God said the righteous will not be moved. So at the end of the day, you have to recognize that sometimes if it ain't rocking, girl, it ain't rolling. And that's just period. Like, it is what it is, So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see, that I don't like that for women. I really don't. Like, people talk about this princess energy, whoop-de-whoop. Okay. I mean, I can't really speak. Like, I've never met a girl who was kind of like that. Like, I never met somebody who was uppity, but I feel like even if she was, like, okay. But I'm not going to sit here and sit in a space where I'm just like, women need to just be, you know what I mean? No, because I definitely think that some things are wrong, right? And I'm not going to sit here and be blind to the fact if it's right or wrong, even if it's a woman. Like, if you wrong, girl, you dead wrong. But at the end of the day, I just think trying to change yourself for a man, and like, that's never going to work. Like, honestly, that's never going to work. Like, change for you. Be a better person for you, honestly. And just love you the way you are. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, okay, if somebody don't like it, honey, they can leave it. Trust me. Everything I see in the mall that I like, I don't buy. Okay, so let that be your motto and just keep it pushing and never make excuses for yourself, because I'm telling you, there is somebody who is in a situation worse than yours that is definitely making it happen. And then there is people who have had nothing, who started with ground zero and made it happen. So at the end of the day, you have to get innovative. You have to see beyond what you're seeing, right? Like, be able to visualize it and just look for opportunities. I swear to God, like, I've always been so resourceful. Like, literally, I've never really gone without, because I've always found a way. I will find a way, honey. I never liked the word no. Definitely grew up a little spoiled. I'm not going to lie. Definitely grew up a little spoiled. And that cultivated me to not like the word no. Like, I just can't see. That's why I'm having a hard time right now in my life, because I realized that God is like, okay, hold on. Like, maybe, what you want may not be what you need. So you got to take your time, right? So I'm learning, I'm learning patience on the journey. Nonetheless, and even still with God, like, you pray and like, it's still happening. And it'd be better than what you asked for. So, like, I'm just not fond of a no. I'm really not. Like, I don't take that lightly, because I don't understand why. Like, I need a real justification, but that typically doesn't happen because I don't accept a no. So just don't make excuses for yourself. Like, it's totally possible. Whatever you want to do, like, it's just possible. And I'm not gonna bore you guys with this long, conversation, but I just kind of had to get on here and say, don't make excuses for yourself, and show up for yourself. And if you're going to change for you. Be a better version for yourself. But a lot of times, if you really sit with yourself, you're going to find that you actually like you and that you're okay. And despite the therapists and the Instagram critics and all these people, blah, 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 like all the noise, you're going to just sit with yourself and be like, I actually think I'm a pretty cool person. And I'm sure other people do too. So, find the things that you like about yourself. I'm going to end with this. Jada Pinkett said on this interview, and it stuck with me because it was everything. She said, know what's right with you because the world is getting ready to tell you what's wrong with you. And I'm telling you, when you sit in that space and you just think about all the things that's wrong with you, I'm telling you right now, girl, you're going to self-destruct. Girl, grab a chair, honey, because you're finna self-destruct, honey. Like, I'm telling you, that is just not the place you want to be. But if you are there, that's fine, too. I've definitely been there. But you just want to make sure that you're just doing things for you, okay? Do it for you because you deserve it, all right? And I hope everybody has a great day. Like, this was such a great podcast episode. I'm totally looking forward to just moving forward in a more positive way. I don't know what came over me, but I just totally feel like I finally understand now. And I'm also really, really proud. Like, you guys, this podcast has almost like 100 and let's see, I'm pulling it up right now. 151 episodes. Like, I'm so thankful for everybody who's been rocking with me and like everybody who I've inspired with this podcast, even though it's just, however many people is listening, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, that really means a lot just to even know that I'm helping people and I'm inspiring people, because that was always my intention. So I'm very thankful for that. And I hope everybody has an amazing day. Go out and be a phenomenal woman, because you are a phenomenal woman. That is the affirmation for today. I am a phenomenal woman, and a phenomenal woman is me.